20 years ago, a seed was planted and cared for. We painstakingly nurtured it and weathered it against adversity until one day it blossomed and the fruits of our labor began to show. Today, millions have learned, shared, and been inspired by what our community has produced. We proudly serve 21 million users from 204 countries in 2019. For our 85,000 technical articles, code samples, and videos, our 450,000 forum questions, and our highly anticipated conferences and events featuring keynote panels, live streams, and industry experts and influencers, we recognize and reward members for their dedication to the community. Through content contributions and mentorships, we ranked number 2,620 in the world with a reach of millions across our social media channels. Thanks to you, our global community of software and data developers grows stronger each day. For more information, visit us at csharpcorner.com.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Growth Mindset Show. Okay, let me fix my mic first here. Let me see. And my audio here. All right, this seems pretty blurry, but good morning, everybody who's joining us today. Let's see, I'm almost, I changed my setup a little bit this morning. Maybe I have too much light. Well, anyway, let's get started. So, good morning to the Growth Mindset Show. My name is Mahesh Chan. I'm founder of C Corner. If you are joining me first time, welcome to the show. If you are joining back, welcome back to the show. This show is every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time. I live here in the outside of Philadelphia in the US. So if you're joining us from other countries, good evening, good afternoon, and here in the good noon in the US. It's nice, bright, sunny. I think summer is almost leaving. I think it's going to leave us soon. This could be the last month. But nice breeze, 72 degrees, awesome weather outside. So what are we going to talk about today? Today we are going to talk about a new topic, and that is Chief Technology Officer. It means CTO. We're going to talk about what CTO is, who CTO is, what is his role, what does he do in the company or she does in the company, and then we're going to talk about how to become one. What are the skill set you need? What are these, CTOs do day to day, and what their roles are, responsibilities are, goals are, and then we're also going to talk about some few other topics outside of the CTO. Hopefully, we'll be done before time. But as you may already know, this show is for you. So you ask any questions you have. Okay. Questions don't have to be related to CTO. It can be related to anything else as well. So if you have questions about career, job, community, startups, consulting, anything else, feel free to ask your questions. Your questions are the one that they make this show interesting. So let's see. It looks like people are joining us already. Hey, Deepak, good to see you back. Bhaskar, welcome to the show. Who else is joining us? Let us know. Abhishek, welcome to the show. Need of CTU. The exact need of CTU, Abhishek says. What is CTU? I'm not sure. Maybe you can explain what CTU is. I'm learning new words. Yes. Oh, you mean CTO? Did you mean CTO? Probably. Yeah, it's probably spelling. All right, so let's get started. And Simon is behind the scene here. Simon is team is behind the scene. I have, I believe, Rohit and a couple of other guys working on the social media and marketing. Suraj, good evening. I believe you are joining us from India. Um, all right, so I think everybody is in. Before, let's give people a couple of more minutes. In the meantime, I want to ask you guys something. Okay, I posted a tweet this morning, and tweet was about people who call themselves. Say, if you are one of the technical guys who write code and you think you are a programmer, you are a developer, you are a software engineer, whatever the title is, coder, it doesn't matter. End of the day, what you do is you write code to solve a business problem. And if you don't think about what your code is doing, if you don't think about your code is how it impacts every aspects of hardware and machine, like how if you write a CSS, how it's going to impact the UI or a screen of a mobile device, or if you are declaring a variable, how it's going to impact the memory, or creating an array, right? All those things, if you don't think about the how your code is going to impact hardware resources, then I think you should not call yourself a developer or programmer or software engineer. You should just, or if you're just copying pasting, maybe you should call yourself a copy paster. There should be a new title for people who just copy and paste. They go online, they search for some solution, either they ask or they search and they copy and paste, but they don't understand. Okay, they don't understand that what this code is doing. First of all, let me go back to a little bit legal things here. First of all, you cannot just copy and paste somebody's code in your production and project which you're writing for your company. That will probably get you in trouble. The goal should be you understand, look at the code. If somebody has given a example, it's fine to learn from somebody else's code, and that's what C Sharp Corner is, right? 20 years ago when I started C Sharp Corner, the purpose was to share my code, what I was writing already, so you don't have to learn new things again and again. Simon, can you keep that tweet there on the screen, please? So, but you shouldn't just take without thinking about and put in your project and be done with it. You need to understand that. You also should change the code so it's your code, and understand from the other code, copy it, then learn, change the whole code, make your own code just in case there can be some legal restrictions or copyright or issues on that if you take somebody else's code in your live project. Okay, so goal should be try to understand that code. And then there's some comments. If you agree or disagree with this, I want you to go ahead and write a comment on this post. um, See if you can like it, tweet it, retweet it. But I want you to, if you, it's okay to disagree. Okay, if you disagree, I want you to say, yeah, I disagree with that. I don't think that's the right message here. But if you agree, then also write about it. And the reason is we want to make these kind of topics more visible. So while it's, I understand a lot of people copy and paste code because we are in tight deadlines, and business is asking us to, oh, come on, fix this issue, fix this problem, build this UI, build the website. I understand that part, but in the still, you need to understand what your code is doing. And if you understand that, we will have less bad software out there. And I'll give you an insight secret, right? I think that the big number, 70%, 70, or I think more than 70% of code we write as software coders or programmers or developers never see production. That means all the code we are writing actually just dies somewhere in between. It never goes live, really. That's how it is. That's how bad it is. A lot of the website, they crash. They have a lot of problems when they go live, especially when there's scalability issue. When a lot of people start using website and web pages, and because people who are writing code don't even understand, they don't spend time understanding that if I'm declaring this array here and it has unlimited size, what will happen when 10,000 people going to go access this page? Okay, so think about that, and let me know what you think on that, on this tweet there. So let's go back to our topic. Today's topic is CTO. How many of you know or what a CTO is, or who is CTO in your company. If you work for a company, if it's a big company, I'm sure they have a role for CTO. Okay, how many of you have dealt with CTO or talked to CTO or know one CTO you really like? Okay, and almost every large corporation has a CTO. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So, who is a CTO? Let's think. I will start with that first. So, I'm going to look at my screen here. This is a hierarchy diagram for a large enterprise. Large enterprise, I'm talking about like a, you know, Microsoft, Visa, Mastercard, all those big companies. So in big companies, these large enterprises, the top role is CEO, and below CEO there are some common roles, and there are more roles too. So if you look at Microsoft, the under CTO, CEO, there are about probably 20 more roles. Okay, and each company is a little bit different, but this is kind of gives you a general idea about the CTO role. So under CEO there is a COO, chief operating officer, CMO, chief marketing officer, CFO, chief finance officer, um, CIO, Chief Information Officer, and CPO. It's like legal. There's other roles as well, but our focus here is a CEO. Under CEO, there is a CIO, Chief Information Officer, and under that is the role CTO. That's really a typical hierarchy if you look at large enterprises. But some of them this changes too. I've seen companies where CTO works direct under CEO. That's also I've seen that. And then if you look at CTO, below that there's a VP of engineering, there's director of technology, and then those are the two major roles. And sometimes if the company is smaller, then CTO direct manages the technical team. There's no VP of engineering, there's director of technology not there as well. In some companies, smaller companies as well, there's no CTO role. They either have VP engineering or director of tech. So that's kind of also depending on the company to company. And then, so let's talk who is a CTO. When you think of a CTO, company CTO, it's a technical person. That this person is definitely technical, okay, because this person is responsible for managing, building a strategy and implementation of technology in a company. That's what this person is. So this person's background is technical. They have number of years of experience, usually 15 plus years of experience. They are senior executive in the company. So as you can see from this diagram here, they are the senior level and they're involved in the decision makings. They sit down with leadership, understand the big vision and all that. And their focus is also business growth and customer satisfaction. Means they're not just building the technology, they're not just implementing, building a new website or new software or new product. They're also involved in business growth. So, and they have this, I'll talk more on next screen as well. They're also involved with customers as well. They just don't work just not only inside the company, but they're also outside of the company. It's a leadership role. Yes, definitely, it's a leadership role. It means they manage people, they speak, they communicate with people. So that's what a CTO does. A CTO, and it's innovator and thinker. That's the most important role of CTO is that they just don't really. Yeah, well, some CTO you don't. They can continue the work they're doing, or they can take the existing products and services companies running and continue to running it, but that's not really what CTO should be doing. CTO should also be a thinker and innovator, because end goal is you want to grow the business, right? Because you are a senior level leadership. Your goal is really to understand your customers, understand your business, understand your vendors, understand your employees, and then how do you grow that business. And end of the day, business world, it's all about growth, right? It's not about anything else, because business growth is important. And if you don't innovate your business, your products and services, somebody else is going to come and take over your customers. This is how it is, right? So you have to be a thinker and innovator. So yeah, let those comments keep coming. What do you guys think of this show? You learning anything from it? Let me know. If you're not learning anything from it, let me know. If you think it's a garbage show, and you're wasting your time, you should not come here. I'm telling you right now. Um, Also, if you think other people, your friends, family, coworkers can benefit from this show, let them know. Share on your social media, post a comment. So, all right, hopefully you understand now who a CTO is. If you still don't understand, then ask questions, right? So you can ask your questions and comments as well. So let's go to the next screen here. So CTO, if I know you probably heard of these bunch of startups, and they say this is the CTO of this startup, and it's a small company. You may say that, well, it's a startup, and the company just started. How come this person has, it doesn't have this many years of experience? So, for startups, a CTO is usually the guy who's technical, who started the company, also probably a co-founder of the company. In most tech companies, a founder or co-founder is usually a CTO, because they are the one who comes up they who come up with the idea with other people and implement the first, say, POC or first product or whatever. So for example, if you have an idea of an app, it's a startup that has an app for delivery, home, delivering food, whatever. CTO is probably the one who first built that application, or at least manage the developer or two or more. That's the how it works in startups. So in startup, a CTO can just came to be a young person, just graduated, because this four friends from college may have just started a startup. So one can be CTO, one can be CEO, one can be CFO, one can be CMO, right? They're different roles. Sometimes there can be multiple technical people in a startup, but one of them is CTO. So hopefully that kind of clears the role of CTO in a startup versus a large enterprise. Um, so what does a CTO do, right? So let's look at what does a CTO do here. Oh, I got myself a new drink today. It's called Body Armor. So if you want to see this, it's a pineapple and coconut. It's awesome. So I'm trying to have less tea and more of these drinks. By the way, this is a good drink. It is pineapple, coconut, and it has a lot of vitamins. Good stuff here. Yeah, check it out if you have it available there. It's called Body Armor. It's not an ad. Okay, I'm drinking it. All right. So yeah, any questions you have so far, ask the questions. Okay, questions don't have to be related to CTO. You can ask any kind of questions, because we want to make this interactive. These shows should be interactive. So what does a CTO do? So if you think of, you are in a big company, you see this person as CTO. What do they really do? Well, first thing they do, their focus is tech strategy and planning. So what does that really mean? That means really, um, what does that mean? Yeah, let those questions coming. Thank you, Suraj, for a question. Definitely let these questions coming, because I'm going to take these questions as well. So my goal really is to make sure you understand today, when you're done with the show, you go home and say, you know what, now I know what a CTO is. So when you see somebody in your company and that person is CTO, you will know that what this person does actually, right? So what does CTO do? So they plan whole strategy, tech strategy, and what does that mean? Really is what does that mean is that they look at their holistic approach of tech in a company, like what kind of technology we are using, right? What kind of technology we are building, what kind of technology we need to build, what are we building for our customers, what are we building for our vendors, what are we building for our employees, right? So there's three aspects to a company when it's come to tech. It's technology you build for your customers, technology you build for your vendors, technology you build internally for yourself, and I'll break it down as well. So so for example, let's take an example, right? So let's say you are a company, for example, let's take a company Microsoft, right? So Microsoft builds products for its customers, right? So they have Azure Cloud, and they have, Office, they have Windows, they have SQL Server. These are different products. So this is actually a bad example, because Microsoft is so big. So almost every product has a CTO role. Even they may not call them CTO, they have a lot of CTOs. But point here is that you have to look at that your customer side, right? So if you look at last point here, customer engagement. So CTO's role is not to just build a product, but also build a product to keep in mind and engage with customers to make sure that that's what they really want. Okay, customers what they want, right? What are they asking for? And then look at the challenges, look at the problems, and also think about that. Sure, that's what they ask, but in future, I think that's what we are going. So if you look at the number 3 point here in this, what does a CTO do? I'm going to combine all these points together. Is innovation and adoption. Innovation is very important for a CTO role because I'll give you an example, and I think Henry Ford, the you know founder of Ford, the creator, CEO of our first founder of Ford company, motor company, said it right that um, if if I gave people what they want, I would never build Ford. People wanted buggy, I should buggy and cart, but I gave them a car. That's kind of innovation is you're thinking ahead, right? So if you are a car company and your customers are asking for better cars, sure, that's great. You can improve your existing cars, but you want to also think what's going to come in future: electric cars, self-driving cars, flying cars. So you have to also think, and this is a kind of also role of a CTO to think ahead of the time, right? And if there's a new technology out there, are you adopting that also within in your organization, right? For example, look at the cloud right now. In today's world, cloud migration is happening at big, fastest pace. Are you adopting the new cloud? Are you moving your email servers to cloud, right? Are you moving your data centers to cloud? Are you moving your infrastructure and machines and virtual machines to cloud? So that adaptation is also a part of not a bigger role. Sometimes it conflicts with work with CIO, but that's a part of also a CTO role. Resource and budget planning, right? So you have a strategy, you have resource and budget planning. Means in the next 3 years, what kind of products we are going to build for our customers, what kind of product we are going to build for our vendors, what kind of adoption internally or product and tools we need to build internally, right? So that then also have to have a plan for a budget, like how much money do we really need to spend this year, next year, maybe next 5 years or 3 years, right? um, and then CTO also has to lead a team of technical people, right? So CTO sometimes has multiple people under working for him. They can be a director role, they can be a VP of engineering, depending on how big the company is. But end of the day, they have to lead the team of these technical people. Um, so let's take a couple of questions, right, while we are already going there, because one question is related to, Bhaskar asked this question: is person who is not having coding skills can become a CTO? So it's very depending on the company and what kind of company. If your company is a product company, um, and you deal with the coding, yeah, answer is yes, you can be a CTO without coding skills. I've seen CTOs come from different background, but definitely they have to have some kind of technical background. Okay, I've seen people came from data background, people came from IT, the backgrounds in networking and managing server, they became CTOs. Yes, but in most companies, if your company is a tech company, CTO is from coding background. So yeah, it depends on, yeah. Sometimes if your company is big, you don't need that low level of understanding of coding. You can just manage people. You can hire these directors of tech and all these. They can then manage the coding part, right? So, but in bigger picture, you don't have to go and look at the code at that time level, right? If you're a CTO, you're not going to do code review, but you should know that for your next product, sit down with the technology directors and engineers that you're going to adopt, you know, .NET for 6.0 for you building your new products. I think that's that level you need to understand that, and you will understand that if you come from tech background, right? um, Welcome Venkat here, welcome Vittal, good evening, welcome to the show. Today we are talking about CTO role. What does CTO do, and what their roles, what they do in a company, and if you want to become a CTO, what do you have to do, what is skill set requires to become a CTO. So all right, so let's continue more, and then we'll come back to some of these questions, right? So what are the, so we just talked on the previous screen, right? What does, can you go back to previous screen, Simon? So yeah, what does CTO do, right? So basically, they have to build a strategy, tech strategy and planning. They have to do resource planning, innovation, adoption. Sometimes they're involved in IT infrastructure as well, and then they have to lead the teams. So this is a kind of key roles they do, and there's some are less, some are more, depending on company to company. If you are a startup, for example, CTOs are actually heavily involved in maybe writing code in the beginning because there's only 4 people in there, right? So it really depends on how big your company is. But if you are working for a large corporation, then they may not do involved in coding and product development at all. They just sit down with the business, sit down with the leadership, and then focus on what are the new product they're building, what kind of technology they need to use, and what are the big vision and high level vision is behind those, right? So that's kind of what they do. Now let's go next screen, Simon. So, what are the top 10 priorities for CTOs in 2022? This is just a list. What it tells you, what it gives you an idea is that what are the different tech areas that's growing right now and in coming next year and so and beyond, right? So right now, the biggest work is happening is cloud migration and adoption. So this is the biggest, that's where a lot of money is being invested, trillions of dollars being invested right now in cloud migration and adoption. What does that mean? That means companies are moving their physical on-prem infrastructures, means servers, machines, virtual machines, database servers, all that. They are moving their hardware, networking to into cloud, right? Public clouds. Usually, it could be AWS, um, Azure, and Google Cloud. Those are the three big ones. There's some are, obviously there's other um, middle tier cloud companies as well, but that's what happening big time. So if you look at the numbers of revenues of Microsoft, Azure, AWS, Google, they're all growing insane, like billions of dollars they are making from this. Um, then cloud security. Security is one of the biggest challenge of our world today. Every day, there's about 1 million plus attacks, cyber attacks happening around the world. More than 1 million attacks every day. There's a lot of data almost every day. Company two or one or two or more companies' data is getting hacked, right? So CTO's one role with working with CIOs and security teams is to make sure that they build a good security strategy, IT security strategy, right? That includes cyber, cloud, data, and systems, right? Everything. Yeah, it's just not one security or other. Even building a new software or building a new product, they should think about that. How are they making sure that this data store is secure, the code is secure, the transfer data migrate data transferring from back end to front end is secure. All that is a part of um, this challenge coming year. And you can see that it's like even U.S. government right now meeting a lot of innovators. Like they just met last week. U.S. President Biden met, and his staff met CEO, Microsoft CEO, Google CEO, and a bunch of other CEOs to discuss the whole security. And they're mostly around cybersecurity because when other countries attack U.S. systems, yeah, that's a big problem, right? So that's a growing field. Other growing field is automation. That is, our RPA and BPA both. It's a robotic process automation, business process automation. That's growing in the sense like you don't need to do a lot of manual work these days if you can somehow figure out use one of the tools to automate the process. AI machine learning is growing. We already know that. That's again in voice enabled systems like Alexa apps and mobile apps with voice. They are growing. Blockchain cryptocurrency is another thing I think CTOs should also keep in mind, how they can use in their new products. Low code, no code, definitely low code, no code tool adoption is growing. Microsoft's Power Platform is growing like a big time, and there's so many other. All if you look at any low code, no code platform, they're all growing. They're making more money. More applications are being built using those codes as well. There may be time in next 5 years. Then sure there'll be coding, but there'll be less coding. There's more tools being used because coding. If tools can write code for you, um, if tools can write code for you, then why you want to write code manually, right? So this is going to happen. This is growing. This is growing. um, Virtual and augmented reality is another field in remote work culture. Definitely. So CTOs should think about how they can build this remote culture where their teams can work remotely, which is already happening. It's not something like um, so it's already happening. And then last point is diversification, right? So that's another thing is diversification, workforce diversification. That's a big point. So these are the top 10 priorities for a CTO in 2022. That's my list here. So, yeah, guys, let those questions coming. Let those questions keep coming. Discussions keep going, and then we're going to pick some of these topics in the second half. So maybe Simon, let's take a break, 2 minute break, and then I'm gonna get my drink here. You go ahead. Let's take a break, and I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Hey guys! Can't believe we haven't seen each other since graduation in May. What's going on?
Not much. With the pandemic, I can't really do anything right now.
Me too. I mostly just stay at home, hang out with my dog, and watch the news.
I feel you. Have you guys been able to get jobs yet?
Funny that you ask. Gary and I actually have been working on something together.
Yeah, we came up with an idea for a startup that's an app that will help us stay active since we both have been sitting around so much during this quarantine.
That's genius! I could definitely use something like that. When are you guys launching it?
Well, that's the issue. We don't really know how to build it, so we're kind of stuck.
I know of this company that does startup advising if you guys are interested.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're called Mindcracker, and they'll help you validate your idea and connect you with angel investors and help you build everything from your product MVP to your technical team and even your go-to market planning and execution.
Wow, that's awesome. Do you know how we could get in touch with them?
Yeah, you can just visit their website, mindcracker.us.
That's awesome, May. Thanks. I'm excited to get started on this.
Of course. Good luck, guys, and let's talk soon.
Thanks, May.
All right, we are back. I got my drink here. Again, it's a nice, beautiful day outside. I can see from my window a lot of flowers, green. Everybody, welcome back to the show. Today, we are talking about CTO, Chief Technology Officer role, and what they do, how to become one. And we are also taking some questions. And today, this is Growth Mindset Show at C Sharp Corner Live. Everybody, I see a lot of friends talking here. Good to see familiar faces. Yeah, let those questions keep coming. And again, this show is really for you. Anything I'm sharing my experience is because so you can learn something from it. So if you think you are learning something, share on, let us know. If you think you are not learning, you need some different topics, all feedback is welcome. Yeah, so definitely we just talked about top priorities of CTO. But yeah, let's go next. Let's move to the next screen. So um, before we go here, I think there is a good question here where's question from Venkat, right? The question is about, can you put the question here? Does CTO involve in uh, CTO align with business requirement and take delivery decisions? So yeah, answer is yeah. Let me break it down. I think we did talk about. I think you came a little late. So yes, so CTO is involved with senior leadership deciding where we are taking this business, where the company's direction is going, right? So um, company, for example, company's goal may be, hey, this year in 2022, next year in 2022, we want to get 5 more customers in insurance space with 20 million of revenue. So that's kind of big goal. CTO now will decide, like, okay, what it needs to support those customers, what kind of product and all that we need, what the customers need. So as I said earlier, that they do involve in engagement with the customers to understand their big needs, right? So then they could go back and then sit down with their team and see what it will take to build and release and deliver that to the customers, right? So it also depends on product to product as well and company to company. But sometimes the way think of the sales process works is there's going to be CEO probably, or big some sales director, or has a kind of meetings with the company, and they just gonna go, and then depending what kind of role, that's when CTO will get involved, and there's a tech discussion start happening as well. So then CTO is also involved in all those major decisions, like how many people we may need to hire for, let's say, next year or over 5 years. What kind of do we need role, different senior roles, different junior roles, architects, project managers. So they kind of come up with the whole planning in that. But back to, so let's not confuse that with the project requirement, because for project requirement, that's a little kind of lower level, where project business analysts and project managers get involved with architects to sit down with the business needs, depending on who the business is. So yeah, hopefully that answered the question. Yeah, so let these keep more questions keep coming, and we'll take those questions. So now, how do you become a CTO? That's the biggest question, right? And that's what we are here, all of us. So a little background on me. I have about 20, so 98, 97 was when I start working in industry, right? 97. Um, so yeah, 97 August, I got my internship in Noida, August 97. And then in 98, February 98, I moved to the US. So I have about 23, 24 years of experience in IT industry. And right now, most of my classmates, so people who have 23 years of experience, they are either CTOs, or director of technology, or director of engineering, or they are at director level right now. Most of my friends as well, like, they are CTOs. So if you look at my biggest friend circle, my friend circle is they are CTOs. Obviously, some of them are CEOs who start their own companies. Um, but most of them are actually at director level, senior level. And it depends on the company. Like, bigger the company, slower you move in the titles. But that's kind of all you need, is like technical expert experience is about 20 years experience, even though some companies you may get 15 years, right? but this kind of gives you an idea. So you have to have a lot of technical experience. And when I say technical experience, really through these years you build different systems, you learn this, you talk to customers, so you learn the whole business aspects as well. It's just not technical, right? Because you are the person who is driving the whole technology strategy of the company, right? Where we go in the direction. Leadership experience, you definitely need to have a lot of leadership, because you are going to sometimes you're going to present your company to a board, present your company to the customers, present your company to at the expos and big conferences and all that. You're going to lead the team as well, right? Not only just lead the team, you're also going to come up with a mentorship, the training, the growth, all that plan as well, because technical team and they have to grow. So I'm not saying this is direct role of say CTO, but CTO has a big major part to play in this. On the edge means they have to be on the cutting edge. If your company is a tech company and you are not on the cutting edge, yeah, somebody's going to come and take your business. Okay, so that's very important. That means they are always have to be keep learning. And you saw, if you watch my previous shows where I bring like Viswas, Lele, and Magnus and all, they're all senior CTO level people. Their title may not be CTO, but Viswas is CTO, right? Alan is, even though he's a, yeah, he's just a director or CTO. Yeah, so all the people are CTO level, right? So they are always learning themselves as well. They're learning what Microsoft has launched. If you are in Microsoft space, they're hands-on almost. They may not build right code day to day, but first they learn. Even today, I learn new things. So if it's a quantum computing, Q Sharp language being launched by Microsoft, I'll go and try it out. If Stratus is launching smart contract, I go and check it out before I tell even my guys, say, hey, we're going to use this product. So that's kind of CTOs are. So they kind of have to feel it, not just read it. They're kind of, you have to kind of check it out by yourself, right? That's what a lot of people, a lot of CTOs would do. Not in maybe bigger companies, but I'm talking about the company, they are smaller, mid-sized companies. So far so good. Hopefully you guys learning something. Hopefully you are kind of getting a little idea. So if you want to become CTO in 5 years or 10 years, depending on how old you are, you can start thinking about it, that what else you need to improve, because these are important things to learn. Strategic planning, you have to definitely have a strategy, and this will come over time. It's just not something you can go today and read a book and become a strategy. You become the whole planner, right? Vision and problem solving, we already know this is very, so CTO has to have a big vision, like we are doing this thing today, but where do you want to be in 5 years and 10 years down the road? Where do you want to lead your company in a tech space in 5 years to 10 years? So that's where you sit down with your CEOs, your CIOs. That's, what, cloud is growing. So you can think about like, hey, cloud is growing, and we know voice is growing, IoTs are growing. So maybe our next product should support voice, or should also be available on Alexa, and should also support IoTs, right? That's how they have to look beyond. Then once they look at that and they get approval, budget and all that, then they'll say, what, let me go hire a team. So they, CTO may go and hire a director of just, director of IoTs. And that, or, that person then can lead the lead of IoTs, IoT products, right? So so it says this, Vittal has a question, that this is some non-aligned question, but I feel it's more related to the leadership and collaboration. This is question in my mind since long time. Can you tell us about your and Praveen sir's friendship? Yeah, sure. We can talk anything. Yes, I'll take this question. And yeah, definitely I'll take this question after this. So let's continue, finish this. Yeah, we'll take all those questions. So let's go back to so we are on here, right? So you have to have vision, right? You have to have problem solving. Then communication skill is the most important skill to have in any field, in life in general. I know I'm on the same way. I came from, village, and, we never focused on the current communications. We never focused on learning. And then what happens is this affects your growth. Communication affects your growth. That's why you will see a lot of people who are better in communication, they grow faster and they achieve higher compared to people who are just technical. So if you think you want to listen, there's two kind of people. One is like, you know what, I love writing code, I love building software, and I want to do this for my whole life. Nothing wrong in that. If that's what you want, great. But if you want to, grow into a leadership role, you want to manage teams, you want to meet customers, you want to understand their problems, you want to build innovative solutions, you have to know communication more than anything else, because then you will communicate with all, everybody pretty much. You're going to communicate with customers, you're going to communicate with customers sometimes. So you're building a product, for example, if you are a company building a product for, let's say you are an AT&T, you're building a product for other companies to use your services. Those companies may have their own customers, right? And then you're going to also talk to your leadership, you're going to talk to your internal team. So communication is very important. So I cannot emphasize enough on this point, and I know I need to also improve on that as well. But we all need to improve. But goal is to keep improving. Certifications, I mean, you don't, there's no CTO certification. There's no something like, project management. You can get a PMP certification. Architect, you can have a certification. There's nothing for certification for CTO or any of these top level roles, even CMOs and all. These are just titles. But if you already had previous certifications, it validates your skills that, okay, at least if you're a cloud architect, then I know you were a cloud architect before company hires you as a CTO. So I think, again, before even you go to that level, you have to become a director. Same thing with the director. Same thing with the vice president or EVPs. All those roles, there's no certifications. Great public profile it will help. Great public profile will help means if you are speaking at conferences, you are writing publicly, your profile, LinkedIn profile shows you, or you are speaking about innovation, about products, about solving problems. All those things, they help, right? So this is kind of my list of 8 topics which I think, if you want to become a CTO, this is the kind of topics you want to really focus on. These are different areas you want to focus in. All right, so we are almost there. Simon, keep going. We're going to finish that, and then we'll take some questions. Let your questions keep coming, guys. I want to make sure you are asking all your questions. So there's 2 roles in company. If you are in tech, any technology company has 2 roles, CIO and CTO. If it's a large company, smaller companies or mid-sized companies may have one or other. I want to give you a quick idea here. That was the difference in CIO and CTO. But before that, if it's a smaller or mid-sized company, there may be just a director of technology. It may not be a CTO role, or they may be just CIO role. There is no CTO role, but it means pretty much the one person is handling multiple things here. But CIO, Chief Information Officer, is usually is boss of CTO in larger companies. CIO handles everything related to technology in the company. Information systems, all they are kind of technology. Then so they will be responsible for like infrastructure. They look at the internal policies, best practices, networking, data security, access, vendor management, mail servers. Everything comes under the CIO role. But CTO on the other side sits on the side of more like a building the new technology, R&D. It's like it started in the beginning. The role started the R&D division. There used to be R&D division, research and development, where technology teams, smaller teams, would sit down and they will build applications. They will come up with ideas and they present to the businesses and see businesses like that. They'll present to the customers. So that's kind of the difference between these two. Hopefully it clarifies these 2 roles. So when you hear somebody in the company that, oh, that's a CIO, then you get the idea. In some companies, these roles are together, like CIO has its own thing, CTO has its own thing. They both report to CEO. So that's also possible. Next screen, and then let's look at the last screen. I think this should be the last screen. So how much money CTOs make, right? That's the first question you would ask. Like, okay, this is great. I want to become a CTO, but how much money can I make? Well, the salaries of CTOs are not a lot, like base salary, right? So in the US, average base salary for a CTO is 160,000, which is not, some architects, software architects will make more than that, if you ask me. uh, Depending on your, if you are really in demand and your company really needs you and you have a skill set and you are an architect, you can probably make a lot more than 160,000. Okay. But what CTO, since CTO is a leadership role, it's a C-level executive role, they get a lot of bonuses and also stock options. So, and depending on company to company, and I'll give you just an idea. Look at the CEO of Facebook here from 2011 to 2019. And I think his salary, Ms. Michael's salary was, I think, not a lot, less than 200,000, I think. Then it grew, I think it was a little more than 600 or 800K. But look at the compensation, the total compensation, if you look at it, it's in millions, like 24 million, 20 million, 12 million. So if you look at all these large companies, say Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Twitter, Skype, Visa, MasterCard, all these companies, CTOs make millions if you look at their annual compensation. So that's kind of salary we are talking about. So with that, I think that covers the whole CTOs. I think we talked about this. So I think if you still have some questions, let these questions keep coming. But we will take some questions from audience. So ask your questions, any questions you have. So let's take the Vittal. Vittal has a question. So can you tell us about your and Praveen's relation? So Praveen and we are from the same school, right? We did our masters MCA together at Jabalpur, right? So we both did a MCA at Jabalpur University. Our batch was the first batch. So I don't know what else to tell, but we are friends since then. And then, at one point, Praveen was, I was involved in MCN a long time ago. MCN is a company in Noida. Um, and then Praveen was switching jobs early, I think in 2005. Or I forgot exactly, yeah, but it's been a while. So then, I brought him in and he came, he started joining, and then that's how he became part of MCN. And I also asked him to help with C Sharp Corner. So he started doing help with C Sharp Corner as well. So that's kind of really is, right? We just were, obviously we trust each other. Keys with the whole thing is the trust, right? You have to trust your friends, your people. Um, and then yeah, and be truthful and honest, right? So if I don't like anything, or he doesn't like something, we should be able to talk without thinking like what other person will think. That's the key, right? So only friends you can do that. Sometimes you cannot even do with your family. So if you are a close friend with somebody, you can tell them anything, right? They like or not. Sometimes you can tell them like you suck, right? It's okay, because that's what they are, close friend, and they understand you. So to me, hopefully, with till that answers your question. It's like any friend. I'm sure you have a friend in college where you're close and you don't care. You just talk to each other about everything and nobody minds it, right? That's what true friend is. True friend really, if you tell them, right, or if it's something about themselves, I don't think they really mind that, because that's what they trust you. You trust them. That's what it is. Um, So another question is Suraj ask is how past important for the CTO role means education background, previous work experience, project. That's very important. That's probably the most important is how what their education background is, definitely, and work experience in projects. Because if you become a CTO in a cloud company and you don't have experience with cloud, you will not be successful. You will not be able to understand and execute or hire right people. It's very important. So sometimes if you look at the history, CTO is the person who stays with the company for long, many years, because then that person understand the foundation, where the company is coming from, understand all the internal details. So usually CTO, I mean, sometimes you can hire a CTO from outside, it happens, but most cases, majority of cases, CTO is usually person grows from internally within the company, where that person was managing projects, then became the director, then became the VP of engineering, and then became the CTO, because now he has a big picture and already the history of the projects and work experience. Good question, very good question. This question should win probably a goodie, C sharp corner goodie, Simon, if you ask me. Uh, with that said, anything else? Yes, if we have one more questions, I think we are right on time. This is good, because we have 3 more minutes. So if you don't have any questions, um, we will close the CTO topic here. And yeah, and the last thing is, again, guys, check it out. The conference is coming up, big conference coming up this month. It's in a week, actually. Azure Summit, and I'm sure you know that now we have changed name Azure Summit to a Cloud Summit, because some Microsoft people had some problems, which makes sense because Azure is their cloud and it's their trademark and all. So we end up changing that to Cloud Summit. With that said, check it out. It's going to be a 10 days, 11 days of learning Azure, everything. I think this is going to be the largest conference ever. I would not be surprised if we have more than 150,000 people watching it live. And then we have a couple of more large conferences coming up after that. We have a blockchain conference coming up. We have a software architecture conference coming up. And software architecture is really good conference. It's a small, it's only probably going to be 2 days, but all we talk about is software architecture. It's perfect for anybody who wants to become an architect or who's already an architect and wants to learn newer things. So a lot of architects are going to come and share their vision. Even some CTOs and directors will come and talk about that. And then we have a conference coming up on a blockchain. Blockchain conference is also going to be very interesting and very big. We're going to talk about latest technology and trends in blockchain. We're going to talk about smart contracts. We're going to talk about NFTs. We're going to talk about DeFi. We're going to talk about everything latest happening in blockchain and cryptocurrency world. And then we will end this year. We will finish from conference side. We'll end this year with the .NET conference in December. That's going to be a huge as well. We're going to have a ton of speakers. If you want to speak at that conference, I believe Simon is going to open call for a speaker soon. With that said, everybody, thank you for hanging out with me this Friday. It's 1 o'clock here in the US, East Coast. Now, I enjoyed everybody's hanging out and seeing a lot of familiar faces, and asking all those great questions and amazing questions. So if you have any other feedback you want to bring, you have some topic in mind you want to bring, that let us know, let me know. I will decide that. But thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next Friday. Enjoy your weekend.